concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. No. Why? Wait a minute. There we go. Looks like I picked the wrong time to go, oh, crap, I need to schedule next week's stream. Right as the song was ending. I'm just bopping along. I always schedule the next week's stream so the notification pops up just as this week's stream is beginning. This will be September 25th. And that way you guys aren't annoyed by a notification in the middle of the week. I don't know. It just seemed like a good idea. Maybe gets more people into this stream. But my timing was not the best. Okay, boom. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, okay. And September 25th. Great. Always feels like risky to be scheduling a stream right as I'm streaming a stream. But, you know, I like to live on the edge. I like to live dangerously, as Austin Powers said. Hey, welcome to the stream, everybody. It's very good to be with you this weekend, this Sunday afternoon or evening, if you're in, you know, east of here. I guess it could be Sunday morning if you're west of here, if you're like in Hawaii. Maybe it's you're having your coffee. Whatever time of day it is where you are, it's very good to be with you. And we're going to hang out. We're going to talk FPV, or as Drew Camden likes to say, FPV. It always feels like he enunciates the word FPV in a really, and I feel bad because now I'm worried he's gonna get super self-conscious about it and think it's a thing. We all have little things that we do when we talk, ways we enunciate. Something about the way he says FPV always sticks with me. Mike Bergman agrees. Anyway, We're going to talk FPV. I'm going to take your questions. It's like, do you remember that old show, Love Lines, with Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew? If you do, haha, you're old. We used to listen to that show on the radio. Yeah, back before the internet was a thing. And I think of this show as kind of like Love Lines, except I don't take calls because I can't trust you guys not to get me demonetized. But I will take your chats. I've thought about doing an actual call-in show. I'm not sure exactly how it would work, but somebody suggested that I just do it for patrons at first. And they're like, yeah, they would probably be more polite, less likely to get me demonetized. Regardless, here's what's going on. Wait a minute. Hey, there I am. Regardless, here's what's going on. I'm going to be taking your chats, taking your questions here in the YouTube chat. I'll be answering O3 Air Unit. Any infos? Asks Trotter Mac. Not really, no. Next. Do you have any video on how to set up the TBS Pro 32 Nano VTX? Not specifically. I mean, I have smart audio setup videos. Yeah. Let's see here. Etc. I'll be taking questions like that. Cozy FPV says, I'm forcing this chick in my car. Okay, bad start to the comment, Cozy. Let's see where it goes, though. I'm forcing this chick in my car to listen to this. She's like, as long as it's not politics. It is not politics. It's true. I stay away from politics, except in as much as they pertain to FPV. MCN Pickle, we're going to talk about how to set up the TBS Unify Pro 32 Nano VT. What did I just do? That was not the keystroke I meant to press. I don't know what just happened. What does Control-Shift-B do? Can anybody tell me? You know, that actually was a pretty good instinct. I should actually probably be opening incognito windows on a live stream. But, hey, I like to live dangerously. But first, let me just say, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. If you want to leave your questions here in the chat, I will answer as many of them as I can. Scott Schaefer, no gyro in Betaflight or iNav on Kakuta H7. Most likely you flashed the wrong target, or you have a dead flight controller. But most likely, Scott Schaefer, you flashed the wrong target. That's, oh, show hide bookmark bar. No, I don't want that. Control-Shift-B, come back. Ooh, I need my bookmark bar. Thank you. Thank you, Rauk FPV in the Discord. I'll be taking your questions here in the regular chat. I will take some of them, but they go by so fast and furious, I can't possibly take all of them. If you would like to, you can leave me a super chat. Hit the $ right down here, leave a super chat, and I will be reading those later in the stream. That's pretty much the best way to be sure that I answer your question on the live stream. Although I would like to point out, hang on a second. I would like to point out, I also answer people's questions all day via email. Mostly email is how I prefer to do it. So if you don't get your question answered on the live stream, I know it's cool to talk to a live streamer and get answered in real time. I get that. I like that. I do that myself sometimes. But you can always email me. But if you want to make sure I read your message on the stream, Super Chat's a great way to do it. And what the hell am I doing wrong here? I keep pushing the wrong scene. There we go. And also, Silas88 says Control-Shift-Windows-B reloads your graphics driver. Are you for real about that? Are you not making that up, are you? It does. Oh my God. Jesus, let's not do that during a live stream. Who decided that? Who decided that should be a keystroke? Okay. I also just need to say thank you to these beautiful people on the right side of my screen. They're so important to me. They get half of my whole screen on the live stream. These are my patrons in my Discord. Uh-oh. There's an unread message in moderator chat. I'm not going to click on it on the stream because they're probably talking about somebody on the server who was naughty, and I don't want to put that on stream, but I just noticed this, and now I am a little afeared of what might be in there. But what we're actually looking at is the live stream chat channel where we will chat. I'll be reading your comments over there. Thank you guys so much for the support. Windows Shift S is the snipping tool. I do use that. I used to have a subscription to Snagit, but not anymore. Let's get on with the stream, and we are going to start with a discussion from who was it? UniFi Pro 32 Nano VTX. We got a question here from MCN Pickle about how to set up the UniFi Pro 32 Nano VTX. And MCN Pickle, you know, with the beautiful thing is that most VTXs wire up exactly the same way. In fact, what let's do is let's just do a little wiring diagram here. Ooh, that's a hot way to start a live stream, Bardwell, with a wiring diagram. Really? Ooh, I mean, you could do almost anything. You could do high retention content that's going to really suck. But ooh, people showed up for the live stream. What's he going to do? Am I going to stick around or am I going to go fly today? Ooh, he's doing a wiring diagram for a video transmitter. Well, I can't miss that, can I? Well, you better not, because you never know. You'll never believe how Bardwell wires up a TBS UniFi. I was shocked. JBF7. I was shocked by how Bardwell wires up a UniFi. You know what? I'm so dumb. I'm going to make a wiring diagram. It's probably right here on the gosh dang website. So we got to start with how to wire it up. And I'm betting that they actually use a UniFi. Well, they probably use an iFlight VTX now that I think about it. Where's the VTXs? Where's the VTXs, you dork? What? Oh, here we go. VTX. So here's the wiring diagram for my flight controller. You could use any flight controller. It's all pretty much the same. What you're going to need is you're going to need a power source. Now for this VTX, the power is 7 to 36 volts. You're going to need ground. You're going to need a wire for smart audio, and then you're going to need the video connection. So if we go over to the UniFi Nano, we've got 3 to 13 volts in. So it's pretty much made to be powered from 5 volts, although it could be powered from 9 or 12 volts. We've got ground, we've got video, and we've got smart audio. And that's going to wire to your flight controller. Now, I wish that they would show the actual pads instead of the plug, which is more universal. So let's get this flight controller. Let's pull this flight controller up. So we need down here, the first thing we're going to want to do on the flight controller is look for the video pad, which is where the VTX video output is. And on this flight controller, that is VO right here. Sometimes it'll be labeled video, sometimes VTX. You're going to need to look at the manual for your flight controller to figure that out. And so that's where the video wire is going to go. That's where the video wire is going to go. And then we need power, and we can choose 5 volts or VTX 9 volts on this flight controller. We want to be sure it's in the rated range for the video transmitter, which is 3 to 13 volts. So since it says it's rated for 13 volts, I probably would use VTX 9 volts. Again, referencing the manual of the flight controller, the difference is that the VTX 9V pad can be switched on and off using an aux mode. They call that the pit switch or the real pit function. And it lets you turn your video transmitter off if you're at a race or something and you don't want to hit other people with your video. You could also just use 5 volts if you wanted to keep it simple. So that's where the power wire is going to go. And then we've got the signal, which is for smart audio or Crossfire. And that's going to go to any UART TX. Smart audio goes to a UART TX. So on this flight controller, I would probably use T5 because it's just right here. It's very close. And that's how you would wire it up. Okay. The next thing you would need to do is you would need to set that up in Betaflight. Oh yeah, we're going through the whole thing. We're talking about setting up a UniFi Pro 32 Nano. So we're going to go into our flight controller. We're going to go to the ports tab. We used T5 for smart audio. So we're going to go to UART 5. We're going to go all the way to the peripherals column. Can't see it because my head's in the way. We're going to choose TBS Smart Audio as the VTX type. And we're going to hit save. And we're going to go to the presets tab next. And we're going to choose the category VTX. And we're going to look for Unify. And we want the Pro 32 Nano. That's the one we've got, right? Pro 32 Nano? Fine. We're going to hit Pro 32 Nano. We're going to pick, agree, and save and reboot. Now our VTX table is loaded up. We're going to go to the video transmitter tab. We're just going to double check that everything looks, I don't know what it's supposed to look like, right? And then what we're going to do, and we can't do this because this is just a flight controller that's plugged in on the desk as an example. We would plug in the quadcopter and the video transmitter would power up and we would want to see device ready, yes, right here. And that confirms that the flight controller is talking to the VTX. That doesn't always update immediately. You might have to click away and come back to the tab to get it to update. Once you see device ready, yes, they're talking, and you should be able to change the band. For example, you probably want race band and channel and output power using this by just changing these and hitting save in the lower right, which you can't see because I'm in the way. There it is, right down there, right down, right down, right down there. Yeah, there you go. And that's how you would set that up. That's it. Hope that was helpful. Aber the Ham asks in the Discord, for components with wide ranges of acceptable voltage, is there any guideline? What? That's weird. Is there any guideline? Why is that not working correctly? That's weird. Okay. Is there any guideline for how to handle the acceptable voltage? Any best practice? Do you aim for the high end or the low end? So if you've got a component that can take between, let's say, that's weird that was it 3 to 6 volts? What was it? 3 to 12 volts? 3? That's weird. The reason I say that's weird is this device is probably running 3.3 volts internally. That's a common voltage that's used for components like this. My guess is that's what it's running. The reason this is weird is that the typical way to build a 3.3 volt device would be to have a 3.3 volt step down regulator, and it takes 4 volts to 12 volts in and steps it down to 3.3 volts. The fact that it can take 3 volts in, maybe the stuff internally is tolerant of as low as 3 volts, even though it's nominally running at 3.3 volts. Maybe it can go down to 2.9 volts. I don't know. But usually what you'd have is it's running internally at, let's say, 5 volts or 3.3 volts, and the regulator is rated down to, let's say, 7 volts. At that point, the higher the voltage you feed it, the less amps it will pull. Okay? But the higher the voltage you feed it, oftentimes there will be more heat buildup. That depends on what the way the regulator is designed, especially with a linear regulator. The higher the voltage you feed it, the more heat buildup there will be. So with a linear regulator, you often would like to feed it a lower voltage because it'll run cooler and you'll be able to pull more amps without shutting it down. Most stuff today uses switching regulators, though, and they don't have as much of a problem. Switching regulators tend to be basically agnostic to the input voltage, as long as it's within their rated range. With a switching regulator, your efficiency is usually not going to change very much. You will pull fewer amps, but the heat buildup and the efficiency are not going to change very much. The only thing that I do know is that with a switching regulator, the higher the voltage you give it, the more filtering you will get by the regulator itself, because it's stepping it down lower and filtering it more aggressively. So in general, the other thing is that, well, no, I won't say that. So in general, if you have a device with a switching regulator, it doesn't usually matter very much. Give it whatever voltage is convenient. That's what I would say. Linear regulators are hot garbage, says Jeremy Sarge. Why is this not filtering? Hang on one second. Definitely don't do that. Hide emoji-only messages. Why is it not filtering? That's weird. My overlay. Is the overlay working? Yes, the overlay is working. I may as well take that question as long as I clicked on it. Termite43, why do we have to update the firmware for the DJI FPV for Remote ID in Japan when we live in the United States? Termite, my guess is, and I don't know, but I'll answer your question since you asked me, and if it's BS and I'm wrong, welcome to the live stream. That's how live streams are sometimes. My guess is that DJI has a single firmware for all over the world because their drones move all over the world. So they need to put the Japan firmware on your drone so that if you take your drone to Japan and it says, oh crap, I'm in Japan now, it can comply with the laws in Japan. That's my guess. Aber the Ham. Now come on. Damn it. Okay, my socials, my plugin thing is not working. I can't filter the messages like I normally can. I don't know why that is. It's broken. That means I'm not going to be able to use the overlay today. I wonder why. What if I disable and re-enable the extension? I don't know. Let's try that. Hang on one second. Disable, re-enable, reload page. How about that? Is that going to work? And then reload this page. Hold on. One second. Can the filter work now? No, the filter's not working. Okay, well, we're going to just let that slide for now. Aber the Ham says, I thought I heard about sensitive components like GPS and receivers doing best with lower end voltages. Yes, Aber, that's true. So there are devices out there that say that they're rated for, let's say, 3 to 5.5 volts. Many GPS fall into this category. That's what I'm thinking of. So the GPS unit will say it's rated for 3 to 5.5 volts. But in fact, if you run it on 5 volts, it fries. The regulator has been badly designed. It has been badly constructed. It uses substandard equipment, parts, components. And when they say it's rated for 3 to 5.5 volts, they are wrong. And in that case, you should run it off of the lower voltage. But in most cases, you would hope that if they say it's rated for such and such a voltage, that it will be okay on such and such a voltage. Let's see. Is the cap diode from Kebab worth it instead of just running caps? Good question. Let's pull that up. Let's pull up that product so everybody knows what we're talking about. Hold on. This is over on fpvcycle.com. And he's got a thing. I'll bet it's right here on the front page. I'm wrong. Shop. I feel like I've seen this theme before. No, come on. Where is it? Where is it? On sale. Batteries? Is it in batteries? No. Where the F is it? What is it called? What about if I search for TVS? There we go. So this is the cap diode system for motor noise suppression. We all know that, we all know, right? We all know that a capacitor is essential for filtering out electrical noise, saves your ESCs from getting fried, helps your analog and digital video be cleaner, and so forth. But there's another component called a TVS diode that it has a different effect, but is also useful for blocking voltage spikes. And some people say that the cap alone is not as good as a cap and a TVS diode, and that leads to stuff like this. I can tell you for sure that there is no harm in having a TVS diode. But there have been some questions raised lately as to whether it's actually beneficial. There were some tests done. Was it Captain Bry who did the tests? I always misremember. I have trouble remembering this. I think it was Captain Bry, the Express LRS div, but I'm not actually sure enough to be confident The chat will catch up in a minute, and they'll confirm it or not. And what he showed with an oscilloscope is he spun motors up, and the argument is that when a motor gets blocked, like by a tree branch, and it stops abruptly, that creates a voltage spike that fries the ESC, and the TVS diode protects it. He did tests where he spun motors on a test bench, and he jammed the motor with like a PVC pipe or something, shattering the prop, jamming the motor, and generating these hypothetical giant voltage spikes. Thank you, John Goblin, for the link. Thank you, John Goblin, for the link. It was Jai Smith. So, Jai Smith and Captain Bry are both ExpressLRS devs, and I don't know. I think in my mind they're both the same person. Sorry, guys. If I ever meet you, we'll go out and we'll get drinks and we'll have dinner, and then I'll know you from each other. But for now, it's just the ELRS dev in my head. Apologize. I can't always remember who did what. This is the testing from Jai Smith, and what he shows is that here's a baseline bare ESC with no cap or diodes. This is the electrical noise. And of course, this is bad. This is lots of electrical noise, right? And this is less electrical noise. And now we add a capacitor. Whoa, that's way better. Look at how much noise went away. And now here is a smaller capacitor. This is a 50 volt 470 microfarad. This is a 470. Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize. Both 470 microfarads went from 50 to 35 volts. We've got slightly more. That's pretty close. What battery voltage are we using? Is this 4S or 6S? What battery voltage are we using? Jai. What battery voltage are we using? It's probably 6S. Does he say? Surely he says. Oh well, moving on. Then we do it with 1,000 microfarad 35 volts. So this is interesting. It starts to address the question of, how much capacitance do you need? We go from 470 50 volts, we go from 470 35 volts to 1,000 microfarads 35 volts. There's a little bit of difference. It actually almost kind of looks like there's a little more noise in spots. John Goblin confirms it's 6S. And now we have a TVS diode with no capacitor. Now, this shouldn't surprise anybody because the purpose of a TVS diode is not to filter noise. It's to sort of chop off the top of voltage spikes. But it clearly shows that a TVS diode by itself is not enough. I see. Here's 25 volts input. That's the input voltage. Thank you. TVS diode by itself is insufficient. Here's 3 TVS diodes. That's actually a little better. Still not that great. Here is a capacitor and a TVS diode. And if we go back to the capacitor by itself, we see that there isn't that much difference. The TVS diode isn't doing that much. So now we're going to simulate prop wash, right? We keep going. TVS diode by itself, not good enough. And now the big one, we're going to simulate prop strikes. We're going to go to 50% throttle and stick some PVC in the prop and generate some voltage spikes. And we can see we've got some voltage. I mean, it's a little hard to see because maybe on the live stream it's even harder to see. There are some little voltage spikes here going up and down, right? They are there. Here's a zoom in on these voltage spikes. These are the things that supposedly kill your ESC. Here's a major voltage spike, and hopefully he'll zoom in. Boom, boom, boom. Look at all this. But the big question is it going to get any better with a TVS diode? And Jai's conclusion is that the TVS diode by itself is, of course, worthless. You should always run a capacitor. And is a TVS diode useful when coupled with a capacitor? Probably not, because the capacitor itself is doing a lot of the filtering. And then finally, are prop strikes causing voltage spikes? And we can see here that the answer to that is, well, I was just saying, these are the voltage spikes. He is saying, no, they're not the voltage spikes. These are voltage dips. Or maybe it's just that there isn't a huge voltage spike. We're seeing voltage drops. I mean, this is voltage on the y-axis, right? They're not voltage dips, says John Goblin. Help me out, John Goblin. I don't work with oscilloscopes on a daily basis. I knew the conclusion we were getting to, which is that you don't need the TVS diode. I may have misspoken here. Let's look at this carefully. The unit is voltage on the y-axis. They are voltage dips. Okay, that's right. So these voltage dips, we're seeing the voltage drop because we get current, because we get a massive surge in current draw, and therefore, due to the resistance, the voltage drops. Yeah. So I see. Okay. So what this is showing us is that when the prop strikes, the voltage actually goes down and surges back. And I think what people think happens is that there's this giant ringing sort of oscillation that goes both directions. But actually what the oscilloscope shows is that that's not true. We don't have these spikes. And because a TVS diode cuts off the top of a voltage spike but doesn't do anything for voltage dips, the argument is that it's not really useful. This idea that you need a TVS diode to protect against voltage spikes doesn't seem to be true. That's the argument. John Goblin says a battery can't supply more voltage than it normally supplies. John, I think the argument was going to be that there was some kind of a high frequency component that somehow resulted in an increase in voltage. Or back EMF from the motor. Yeah, exactly, John Goblin. Back EMF from the motor resulting. That's what I always imagined was happening. Because, of course, a motor can act as a generator. When a motor is acted on from the outside, it acts as a generator. And it pushes voltage back into the ESC. So my thinking was that when the prop strikes the motor, somehow that results in a surge of voltage and back EMF that destroys the ESC. But it doesn't seem like that was happening in this test. The takeaway, and I apologize, on these live streams, I often am not prepared to answer the questions, and I just sort of start off talking and do my best. I apologize that I misspoke as I was trying to describe what was happening here, and hopefully I've set that straight. What I was expecting based on, this isn't the first time I've talked about this, I thought that there were going to be some voltage spikes, but they weren't big enough to really matter, and the capacitor was good enough. This is actually a different test than I saw previously. And in this test, there essentially are no voltage spikes. It's only voltage dips, and the TVS is useless for that. So hopefully we've set that straight. TVS diode might make you feel better. It probably isn't hurting, and it might help in some circumstances, but the common claim that TVS diodes stop voltage spikes when your motors get blocked doesn't seem to be borne out by testing. Okay, that's the kind of live stream I like to do. Oh yeah, TVS diodes and oscilloscopes. And then mistakenly misreading the oscilloscope trace because I don't work with oscilloscopes all day. I'm like, wait a minute. As I was saying it, I was like, that sure looks like it goes down. Oh, I'll just keep talking and everything will probably be fine. So the question then, here's the question. Because as Bad for Life says, blowing an ESC from a prop strike is weird. I've seen it jammed in the branch or turtle mode, and that's where it happens more. Here's the question that I don't have an answer for. And all you smart people out there with your oscilloscopes, you need to tell me the answer. We all know that FETs blow and ESCs die when you have a motor that's jammed up, right? And then it's like, tack, 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 you're trying to turtle mode out. Whoop, 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 bap, 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 and then you blow it. So, if slamming the motor like that doesn't cause voltage spikes, how does the ESC die? The answer must be overcurrent, right? That's really, physical trauma, like literally hitting the ESC with a hammer. That's not happening. There are two main things that kill an ESC. or let's speak generally. There are two main things that kill a FET, because MOSFETs are not unique to ESCs. Over voltage and over current, which results in overheating. Are we arguing that when the motor is jammed, this is just true for brushless motors and brushed motors too. When the motor is jammed, the motor draws a lot more current. And since the motor is jammed, the ESC soaks too much current, heats up, and blows the FET? Like, something doesn't feel right about that. Because when ESCs overheat and the FET blows, like what I've seen happen is that literally the solder will melt or something, and the FET will kind of move. I don't know. I think that has to be the takeaway, though, that it's overcurrent that blows FETs, not voltage spikes, because DJI couldn't reproduce voltage spikes on the bench. I don't know. Yeah, those voltage dips are current surges. But there you go. Good discussion, everybody. Let's take we're gonna do the super chats. Oh my God, we're 40 minutes into the stream. How did it get to be 40 minutes into the stream? I guess it's a good stream. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm talking. Does the direction of the motor play any role in the direction of the spike? No. Nope. Not at all. Mick we're going to get the super chats in just a second, guys. I know we have a ton of them. I apologize it's gone this long. How do you see the possibility of implementing head tracking with servo tilt like the DJI Avata in Betaflight? Microthene, I don't see much possibility of implementing head tracking with servo tilt in Betaflight, because what the Avata does is it keeps flying where you've pointed the motion controller, but then it tilts the drone in the direction you moved your head. And that requires a level of position awareness and autonomous flight that Betaflight doesn't have. It would be trivial, it might be kind of fun, to hook up a head tracker to control the yaw axis of Betaflight. That could be fun. You twist your head, and that's your yaw axis. That could be kind of fun, actually. But I don't see like the full integration that the Avata has being done in Betaflight, because Betaflight is not built for autonomous flight. It's built for manual flight. Urban Aerials wants to know, I have a standalone PDB hooked up to a digital F7 flight controller, and I use 4 standalone ESCs. My DJI goggles don't get any VBAT info. Do I need to install a current regulator to get VBAT on OSD? No, not at all. Urban Aerials, the DJI video transmitters don't read VBAT from their supply voltage. I wish they did. It's so stupid that they don't. Hey, FPV WTF project, can you come up with a plugin that puts, well, you got the DJI MSP OSD plugin, so we can have the full Betaflight OSD. It's fine. It's so dumb that the DJI Air unit doesn't have the option to show you supply voltage. So you need to have the MSP connection working. It can only get voltage from the flight controller, and I'm guessing you haven't set that up. You need the TX and the RX wires and the MSP connection to your flight controller working, Urban Aerials. Urban Aerials, look up my video, DJI Very Short Range. DJI Very Short Range. Look up my video, please. It shows how to set it up, what you need to do. Okay. Let's get some super chats. Thank you, ZLB07 for a $2 super chat. Do you know anyone who offers remote tuning services? ZLB, everyone I know who's ever offered remote tuning services eventually stops doing it because, I mean, I can't speak for their specific reasons, but in general, it's a giant pain in the ass. It's very time consuming, and it's not a good value for the customer. That's the gist of the reason why everyone I know who's ever done it has stopped. So no, I don't. Mark Spatz, UAV Tech, used to do it, and he stopped doing it. And he still does Cinelifters. I think he still works on those. But the thing is, you're gonna pay somebody to tune your quad, and then like you're going to crash and it's not going to work anymore. The tune isn't going to be right anymore. It's very, very tricky. You're better off just trying presets. Go to the Betaflight presets tab. Try the UAV Tech preset. Try the Sugar Cave preset and find one that works for you. As opposed to paying someone, anyone who's getting paid to do a tuning service. And I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm disrespecting the people who are doing it, and I don't mean to do that. But if you're taking money to tune someone's quad, either you are underpaying yourself for your own time, in which case, more power to you. Tune people's quads for free if you want to. It's your time. Spend it how you like. But anybody who's charging you a decent rate, like a fair hourly rate to tune a quad, either is doing it real quick and kind of giving you maybe an 80% tune that may still be better than what you had, but maybe it would be just as good as if you just applied a preset and they just kind of slap it out in an hour. Or if they really meticulously do your tune, it's either going to be so expensive because it's going to take them a few hours to really get it right. And then if anything about your quad changes, if you get somebody to put a 95% perfect tune, a 99% perfect tune on your quad, if you so much as change your props to a different brand of prop, now suddenly it's no longer 95%. So you can have an 80% tune that is pretty good no matter what, or you can have a 99% tune that's incredibly fragile. And you can see why if you have to pay somebody $150 for 4 or 5 hours of their time to put a 99% tune on your quad, and then the minute you change props, it's no good anymore, that's not a good value for most people. On the other hand, if somebody's taken $25 from you to do an hour of work, you could probably just put a preset on and get good results. Now that I've said that, I will point out that Brandon Beans, who is on my Discord, I believe, he sells PID tuning service on FPV Exchange. Brandon Beans, I don't know him personally, but I've known him on my Discord, and he seems like a pretty solid dude. If anybody has been ripped off by Brandon Beans, then speak now, because every time I mention that somebody's taken money, I'm like, uh-oh, is this guy going to turn out to be like a, does he go by Brandon Beans? Yeah, Brandon's Drone Tuning. So I'm going to put this link here. I'm going to say he does tuning, and if you want to, you can check it out. A lot of happy people here. You can look at his transaction history. He's got a good transaction history. So, if you want someone to do it, he can do it. And will do it. $1 a minute. That's, wow. So that's $60 an hour, which is a very fair price. I would say between, say, $40 to $60 an hour for typical sort of, like if you want to build drones or something, repair drones, that's just a typical service rate. So that's a very fair rate. And if he can really bang it out yeah, like I'm guessing he's not charging you for the time he spends, like, back in the office or something. But that's a good rate, and if he can get you a good tune in 30 or 45 minutes, that's probably pretty good value. Wait. Brandon Beans is not the guy who made PID Toolbox, Milford KD. Am I misunderstanding? Brian White does it. Yeah. Does Brian White do remote tuning services? I actually didn't know that. Can anybody confirm that? Like, the first thing I would say, though, is try UAV Tech's presets in the Betaflight presets repo. Just try it. And if you like how it flies, save your money. Sorry, Brandon. I'm not trying to steal your business. Wink says, do you know any stores that ship to Saudi Arabia? Wink, I think you're screwed there, man. Wink, I don't know the exact situation in the Middle East, but I have, and I don't know which countries, because it's in flux. But I know I have talked to several people who are professional FPV and drone pilots who work out of the Middle East, and they all say importing is a huge struggle. In some, and I don't know the specifics of Saudi Arabia. In some countries, importing is simply banned. Like I think recently, Cotter banned it, if I'm remembering right. There was some kind of an incident with a drone and they just banned it. So like I've talked to people who travel. He's the guy. The guy was like, "Yeah, I'm going to travel to this other country and I'm going to get the stuff shipped there, and then I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to bring it back in." You know, various things. I think there's a lot of problems. Mo says that Dubai FPV ships to Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Mo, for that. Okay. Okay. That's one super chat. Let's try to go faster. Mike Bundy, thank you for a $10 super chat. Any thoughts on the Vanny style frame? Yeah, Mike. First of all, Vanover don't make no stinkers, right? Vanover makes good stuff. So if he flies it and he vouches for it, then at least you know it's like it's half decent, right? In many respects, this frame is a typical, they call it a school bus style frame, with a split bottom deck, similar to the Apex and the Reverb, right? So we've got one plate in the front, one plate in the rear, split with the arms. All of these frames are iterations on a theme. It's a very good theme. So makes a lot of sense why he did it this way. Some things that stand out about this one. What's this? Hang on. I'm sorry. Hold on a sec. Oh, God dang it. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh, God dang it. Can I please? Oh, you son of a bitch. Can I just open in window? Oh, I hate when they do this. What's this screw doing here? Hey, whoever staged this frame for the product shots, were you missing a screw? You didn't have the right length screw? And you had to jam this one in? Shame. Sander says those are the standoffs for the stack. Okay, well then where are the rest of them? Why is there only one, Sander? If that's the stack screw, okay, I'm fine with that. Why is there only one of them? Where are the rest of them? I don't know. I'm just saying, it's inconsistent. So the camera, I can see he saved some weight here by making the camera plate, the camera side plate, very, very minimal. It does mean you only got one location to mount your camera. You're not going to have a lot of flexibility to move the camera front or back. That's not the end of the world, though. That's kind of nice. Dingles wants to know, isn't there a problem with stack screws going through the arms? Dingles, I'm not convinced that they go through the arms. I believe, and I would love to find a photo of the arms by themselves if I can, and see if that's an option. Apparently not. I could probably go to the build video. There we go. There's the arm. Does the stack screw go through the arm? It does look like it does. I wasn't sure if it was a notch. Mike Bergman says it doesn't. We have two screw holes right here. This must be the stack screw right here. Is that what we've got? This is the stack screw here, and these are the two mounting holes. However, oh, sorry, Brandon Beans, you don't get out of here, Brandon. I do also wonder, how does the 20, I can't figure out how the 20 millimeter mount works. Does it only have mounting for 30 millimeter electronics? I guess on a 5-inch, that's not big of a deal. Yeah, okay, so here's the stack screws. They are not integral to the arm, and that's going to help with the noise characteristic. It does seem like with the screw going up through there, you can't just slide the arm out by taking two screws out. You would need to at least loosen all of these screws, because the head of that other screw is not countersunk into the bottom plate. Is that right? Am I wrong about that? I haven't watched this video yet. Yeah, here's your stack screws here. I don't think you can get that arm. Can you get that arm out? I don't think you can. Now, one thing he's done that's pretty cool is when you take this plate off to get a broken arm out, this little keyed part here keeps the arms from falling out. So that's kind of cool. So it's a pretty solid frame. It's surely durable. The design is it's got a couple of little design touches. At the end of the day, it's a lot similar to something like an Apex in its basic design. I'm sure that Vanover really doesn't like me saying that. But the basic design features are very similar. It's got a single rear standoff instead of dual rear standoff. Jesse, press nuts in the plate are great to put the stack screws into, but my point is that the head of the screw still protrudes below the bottom plate, which means the arm cannot just slide out like on some other frames. Like the Diatone with the notched arms, right? That they'll just slide out. So that's some thoughts about the Vanny style. Thank you for this super chat. Joe GFPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. I'm trying to build a sub 250 with a walk snail VTX. Can I take the heat sinks off the VTX to save weight? Yep, Joe, you absolutely can. I know people who've done that and are running it. I'm not telling you that it is safe to do or that it won't like blow up. Okay? It's too soon to say. Like with the Cadix Vista, the DJI video transmitter. So many people have been running naked Vistas for so long. I'm 100%, I'm like as confident as I can be that it doesn't, the heat and the lack of heat sinks doesn't really affect it. It overheats immediately if you plug it in without your props moving. So there, it has that effect. But in terms of durability and longevity, the Vista is very good at detecting when it's overheating and shutting itself down to prevent damage. Now, a naked Vista absolutely is less durable, especially because it's dual boards. They can move now and you can break them. But in terms of the heat buildup and the lack of the heat sinks, it's no big deal. With the Walksnail VTX, people are running them naked. I know for a fact that the Walksnail VTX, it got up to something like 190 Fahrenheit on the bench. Maybe even a little more than that. It was approaching, I think it was, if my memory's correct, it was approaching 100 Celsius. Sorry for switching between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I know that 100 Celsius is a common cutoff point for electronics where it's like, don't go any higher than that, it could be bad. Like your graphics card, you want to keep it under like 100 Celsius. And it's a nice round number. I probably did the test in Fahrenheit, but my memory of the threshold I would have used is in Celsius. So I remember from my test that I just let it get hotter and hotter and hotter, and I waited to see when it was going to shut itself down. And it got so hot that I was like, geez, I'm pretty sure it didn't exceed 100 Celsius, but I'm not 100% sure. My point is, it gets super hot, hotter than I was comfortable with, but they have assured me it does have a high temperature cutoff, and so it should be okay to take those heat sinks off. It will just overheat faster. So I would say go for it. Also, there's a 1S Walksnail VTX coming out that might be useful, but I don't know what the output power is. MC's Creation says, Joshua, today, Great Scott recommended your channel. Holy shit! Great Scott recommended my channel? What? Are you kidding me? Oh, Great Scott! Why did you not collab with me, Scott? Thank you. Thank you for the shout out. Thank you for the shout out. I would have loved to have collabed with you. Scott eventually succeeds. Why a drone build? I mean, I guess he has my videos. And he will immediately get way more views than I get on my videos because he's a much bigger YouTuber. He does the actual drone build in in 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 9, 10, 11, 12. 3 minutes. Yeah, that's not how I edit them. Software settings. Oh, we got add, tests and fails, and a verdict. That's great. Thank you for the shout out, Scott. You link me? Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Give me the link, Scott. You gotta give me the link! Where's the shout out? What timestamp is the shout out at? MC's Creations. Tell me, I'll go back. I want to see it. I'll leave a little comment. Why am I not subbed to him? Oh, how embarrassing. I'm subbed now. Sorry, Scott. Scott, hit me up. Let's collab. He linked my Betaflight vids. Where are they? Joshua. Oh, here they are. Oh, Scott. You're the man. Oh. Oh. I take it all back, Scott. I love you. He linked. I didn't see it. I'm above his own socials. Wow, that's actually super respectful. So put me above your own socials? Super respectful. What's this one? Okay, good job. Thank you, Scott. That's great. He did the frame in PETG? Okay, never mind. He's dead to me. Here's the time-stamped link.
We recommend checking out the Joshua Bardwell channel.
Oh.
He made a video series about this.
Oh.
But anyway,
that's. Oh, Scott, you've printed the frame out of PETG, like the whole. Oh. Okay. Good luck with that. That's cool. I'm not sure that the complete walkthrough will be my pick for the very first thing you should see as a beginner. There's a little bit of a fire hose. Here's what I'm going to do. Drone bundle. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get moderated for this, I guarantee. I shouldn't put a product link on his own video. He's got affiliate links. I shouldn't put a product link on his page. Is that rude? Is that super rude? Here, I'm going to do a poll. Is it super rude for me to put a product link on Scott's video? See, what I'm thinking of doing is I'm linking the beginner build and saying, look, if you guys want to build one of your very own, here's what you should do. Because I don't actually think, like, print a PETG frame is the right. Let's see what people say. It feels rude. But I would like to steer people towards a better product. Let's see what the chat thinks. Continuing with the super chat in the meantime. Thank you, KS, for 100 rupees. Thank you. Hi, Joshua. You're great. Oh, fantastic. Deuce FPV, thanks for a $10 super chat. Deuce, I don't see a question from you, my friend. It may be because your super chat was long enough ago, but thank you for that. Did you, Deuce? Did you have a question? Deuce. Oh, here's another $20 super chat, also without a question. Deuce FPV. Unfortunately, I don't see any question from you in the super chat. I just see that you've left me super chats. I appreciate your donations. I also don't see questions from you in the regular chat. So if you have a question, let me know. I would love to answer it. Otherwise, thank you for the donation. It's douchey to come in and like use. I mean, he already gave me a shout out, which is super generous. It's douchey to then try to sort of just spiral that into, you know, self-promotion. You want to support his viewers. So it doesn't feel, it probably doesn't feel right. Let's see. We've got 58 to 42%. So I'm just going to say thanks for the shout out, Scott. I don't know what to say. I'm going to have to think about this just to make it like, it's always tricky to figure out what to say to people. It's like when you, it's like after your first date, right? You had a first date and now you have to text the person. The next text message you send after the first date has to be like, you know, interested, but not desperate. Like I had a good time on our, it's got to be clever and witty, but also not like douchey. It's tricky. Okay. I should watch the video first. Good point. Thank you. Deuce FPV come up with a question? No. Doesn't look like it. Evan Wynn, thank you for a $2 super chat. Are NASCAR pit crews using a new GoPro session? I have no idea how I would know that or what I would know. Ben Stone, you've been trying to get me to answer a question about the Darwin 240 Johnny 5. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, Ben. You've been asking since the beginning of the stream. I keep seeing it and then not going back to it. So let's grab that real quick. The Darwin 240 Johnny 5 quadcopter. Let's see here. Is this a 5-inch? It's a 240. That sounds like a 5-inch. So Darwin FPV, the baby ape, is pretty solid. It's solid because it's inexpensive. Holy Jesus. $168.30? Are you joking? What the flip? I gotta get one of these. Who's my contact at Darwin FPV? I apologize. I don't know if my microphone's picking up. My stomach has decided to growl right now. I don't know why. Just to embarrass me on stream. Do I have an email from Darwin FPV? I don't think I do. Darwin FPV. I gotta find, what about Baby Ape? Who is my contact at Darwin FPV? I gotta get one of these. Oh well, I'll have to find it another time. This, I mean, for $168, it's worth a look, right? It's probably made a lot of compromises, but if it is, you know, half decent at that price, it's got to be worth a look. The thing about the Baby Ape is spare parts are not too expensive and it's fairly repairable. Like, you could pay $160 just for a gosh darn flight controller and ESC. I have to review this. I have to review this. I don't have an answer for you. Like, what do you think of this is the question that was asked. The thing is, at that price, it doesn't have to be very good to be worth buying. But the question is, does it have a fatal flaw that means it's not worth anything? I feel like, based on what Darwin FPV has done with the Baby Ape and a few other things, it probably is worth a gamble. Just because it's so inexpensive compared to everything else that's out there. But I'm going to get one and I'm going to review it because that's unbelievably cheap today. I got to find my contact at Darwin FPV. How did they the problem is, how did they contact me? Was it on Facebook? Was it on, I don't know. Anyway, I won't do that on live stream. Let's see here. Continuing with the super chats. Quad City Bay Area, thank you for a $5 super chat. My walk snail goggles won't power on. Battery's full, barrel cord's okay. Any ideas? I hate to send it to China. I don't know what to tell you, Quad City Bay Area. If you are 100% sure that it's getting power, I mean, the most likely explanation is the switch is broken. That's my guess. Are you... hang on. Quad City Bay Area. You do know that the walk snail goggles have a power switch, right? Okay, that's dumb, but... You do know they have a power switch, right? Quad City Bay Area, I'm going to hope that you somehow missed that it has a power switch and you just need to reach underneath the goggle and turn the power switch on. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you other than to contact them for support and potentially send it back. I mean, if you wanted to open the goggles and poke around in there with a multimeter to try and figure out what's broken, you could, but I mean, there's some risk to that. Deuce FPV, still waiting for your question. If you have one, I appreciate the $30 donation. Pavo Christatus, thank you for £2. Worth updating my DJI V1 to V2. I only use Vista. Pavo, the only real advantage of the V2 is that it can bind to the FPV drone, and it can now bind to the new air unit and the Avata. Well, we don't know for a fact that it'll bind to the new air unit, but I think it's a safe bet that it probably will. So, no, if you only fly Vistas, there is literally no compelling reason to switch to the V2. There you go. Smith the Myth FPV, thank you for a $2 super chat. Bardwell, can you check out my DM on Discord? Oh, this guy. This guy's a patron who's I assume you're a patron because we're on the same server. I don't know. Yeah, this guy's a patron and he's super chatting me. All right, let's read this question. By the way, if you want to, people say, how do I get on Bardwell's Discord server? If you want to join my Discord server, it is one of the only things that I reserve exclusively for patrons. My business model has always been give it all away for free and hope that at the end, enough people feel generous and support me. And so far, it's working out great. I don't have a Lotus Exige. I don't have a Porsche GT3. But you know what I do have? I have the love of my children, and that's something that no amount of money can buy. If you do want to join my Discord server, like I was saying, all right, where was I? Just got distracted thinking about, nothing. The Discord server is one of the only things that I don't just give away for free, because one day I was like, I've got this Patreon and you're supposed to have patron-only rewards so that the people who are paying you feel like they have something exclusive. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't have a Discord server at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start the Discord server. I'm going to make it patron-only. And it's going to be something a little bit exclusive. So if you want to join the Discord server, you can join my Patreon. There's a link in the video description. Or if you just think I should be able to have the love of my children and a Porsche GT3. We're not there yet, folks. We're not there yet. Do you really want to live in a world where Mr. Steele has a GT3 and I don't? Are you okay with that? What does that say? What does that say? I don't actually want to think too much about what it says. I will trade one of my children for half a Porsche GT3. I think that's fair. No, it's a joke. Anyway, here's the question from Smith the Myth. My school has hired me to film videos for their football team, and I'm not sure what quad to get. I also want to use the quad to do one-shots and indoor retail work. I have a Hero 8 at the moment. Don't want to have to get a new camera, but if I have to, that's okay. If you see this during the stream, you can respond in there. Okay, so Smith the Myth, the Hero 8 is fine. That's fine. To carry a full-size GoPro, you're going to want a 3.5 or higher. And since you'll be flying around people, you're going to want prop guards of some kind. Yes, football players have protective gear on, but still, it's just good sense. So I would say the GEP-RC Smart 3.5. It's one of the best 3.5-inch Cinewhoop bind and flies. It's very usable for this type of work. It'll carry a full-size GoPro relatively comfortably. Indoors, a 3-inch or maybe a 2.5-inch might do a little better, but it will be able to do indoor retail work, especially in big retail stores and open bars. It's not that tight. You'll be all right. So I think the GEP-RC Smart 3.5 is what I would recommend for you, Smith the Myth. Quad City Bay Area. Going back to your walk still goggles that won't turn on. You're killing me. Yeah, that's relevant. Thank you for a $2 super chat. Is it possibly that I used it 6S and it's bricked? Yes. Oh, yeah, that's kind of relevant. It's kind of relevant. Yeah, the goggles are rated for 5S. I mean, actually, that's not true. Does Walksnail say the goggles are rated for 6S? I think they do. The voltage regulator in the Walksnail and the Fat Shark goggles is, I believe it's the same. I don't know that for a fact. I don't own a set of the Walksnail goggles to open them up and check. I believe it's the same. Fat Shark says it's rated for 5S. Walksnail says it's rated for 6S, but be careful. What the F does that mean? That's not a thing. That's like when Kirk says, you know, the engines are at 100%, and Kirk says he needs more, and somehow Scotty gets them to 110%. Sorry, that's an old reference. Kids these days don't know Star Trek. Walksnail, you can't say that the goggles are rated for 6S, but be careful. That's going to result in customers frying their goggles. You have to tell people a number, Walksnail. So I think that, yeah, you fried it's not bricked. You fried the voltage regulator. It's dead. My guess is that the battery was a little bit fully charged. Like, let's say that the voltage regulator is rated for 25 volts. Okay? I'm just guessing. I don't know that for 4.2 times 6 is 25.2 volts. And what if it's a little higher than that even? So it's at maybe closer to 26 volts. I don't know. Well, then it fries. So you never want to run things at the absolute limit. That's why Fat Shark said 5S. If you plugged a 6S battery in and now the goggles won't power up, they fried the voltage regulator. The only thing to do is to go back through Walksnail and have them repair them for you. That's my guess. And don't use 6S. You know what you should use instead? Ha 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 ha. I got something for you. Why is the Queen of England on the front of Newbie Drone's website? How does that make any sense? What are you doing, Newbie Drone? I don't understand that. What you need is this product from me. Me and Newbie Drone partnered together to make the Newbie Drone Smart Power Cable. This power cable outputs 2S voltage, similar to if it was a 9-volt regulator. But the difference is that a standard power cable just outputs 9 volts until your battery dies, and then your goggles stop working and you fail safe. But what this does is, as the battery gets lower, the output voltage also gets lower, as if it was a 2S battery. That's kind of cool. And that'll let you use a 6S battery safely on your Walksnail goggles. Does the smart power cable fit the new DJI goggles? John Goblin asks. No, it doesn't. They changed the plug. However, I will tell you this. Immediately after we released the V1 of this goggle, we started thinking about ways to make it better. And frankly, the YouTube comments helped with that. Want feedback on your product? Just release it. Oh, no. Hang on. Don't take that the wrong way. Because I also hate it when people beta test products on their customers. This is a fully baked, fully functional product that we tested and released, and yet we got feedback from the customers who said, here are things that we would like to be different. What I think we're going to do in the next version is, these are not promises, but what I think we're going to do is we're going to make it a small module with an XT60 on one side and then a modular plug, so that if you want to have 2 plugs for your HC0 or your PowerPlay DVR, you can get a plug with 2 plugs. If you want to have a smaller plug for the DJI goggles, you could do that, etc. So I think it's going to have an XT60 input and an XT60 output, and then you can use whatever power cable you want with it. That's what I think we're going to do on the next version of it, to try to make it more universal. So. Ben Stone wants to know, if you review the Darwin 240, can I have it after the fact? I'll probably give it away on my Patreon. You might win it. Sunshine, thank you for a $10 super chat. Regarding the railroad strike next month, if those dominoes fall in the holidays, shipping time will probably be in the months. If folks need parts, you might want to order them sooner rather than later. I mean, that's always true. If you're shopping for the holidays, start buying now. Or shop early. I thought the railroad strike got averted. Was it only temporary? I don't know. Hey, Deuce is here. Thank you for the super chats, Deuce. I'm having two issues. I cannot bind my iFlight Nazgul 5 Dead Cat to my TX16S. I've updated software on both the radio and the receiver. Deuce, this is the kind of question that will require a lot of back and forth. To ask you, like, what firmware did you flash, and are you doing this, and can you show me a screenshot? I 100% want to help you, especially because you gave me a $30 super chat. So I appreciate that, and I want to show my appreciation by answering your question. But I don't think we're going to have success troubleshooting that over the live stream because there's delay, and you're going to need to send me pictures. So can you email me? And in the subject line say, this is Deuce FPV from the live stream, and like put parentheses $30 super chat. Okay? Can you email me, joshuabardwell@gmail.com? Everyone, by the way, I always like to point this out. Everyone is welcome to email me questions about their quad. Whether you send me a super chat or not, I'll answer it. But if you did send me a $30 super chat, I want to be especially sure that I remember that that was you, so that I am respectful of your donation. Yeah, Deuce, that's going to be a tough one to troubleshoot over the live stream. So please email me. Quad City Bay Area says my walk snail sparks when I put it in the barrel. Again, all of this Quad City, the super chats just keep coming. Thank you for a $2 donation, and they just keep getting worse and worse. First of all, don't plug it in anymore. Okay. And contact Walksnail. The best case scenario, in my opinion, is that they send you a new power board and that you open up the goggles. It's not that hard, and you replace the power board yourself. If you don't want to do that, then you got to send the goggles back to them. But the goggles are dead, buddy. They're toast. Evan Wynn, thank you for a $2 super chat. I have a clip, but I can't super chat it. Evan, what clip are you wanting to show? What clip are you wanting to show? You want to show like a video clip, Evan? Not sure I understand. Any news on the Walksnail avatar module for analog goggles? No more news other than that they say they're working on it. Dare V, thank you for €5. I sold a Tiny Trainer TTQ35 in your sponsored color. Did you open your quack from Johnny 5 yet? Well, I don't know what a quack is. If Johnny 5 sent me something, I'd like to open it, but I... Oh, I do know what you're talking about. Yes. Johnny 5 sent me a box. I have no comment about that. I do know what you're talking about. Johnny 5 sent me a thing to try out. That's what the quack is. Yes, I got you. I thought quack was like a new... we've got tweets and all that stuff. I thought maybe quack was a new kind of social media message that Johnny 5 said. I was like, Johnny sent me a quack. I wonder what that is. Is there some, new social media network? No. I know what you're talking about. MJ keeps asking, how can I join your Discord? MJ, the Discord is open to patrons. I rewind the stream. I did like around 2 minutes, around 2:10 p.m., about 10 minutes ago, maybe 15 minutes ago, I talked for like 5 minutes about how to get on my Discord and what you want to be a patron. So the answer to that question is you have to be a patron. Rain Motorsports, thank you for a $5 super chat. Long range tiny whoops are a thing. You just have to believe. I've been flying my Mobula 75 1 kilometer over water. I mean, that just sounds like a recipe for a lost quad, but you do you. Thank you. MJ says, then you have a new patron. Oh, thank you, MJ. That's incredible. I appreciate it very much. Alexa, play Baby Shark. You're welcome. Ian Cooper, now you're not alone. How many people out there? Let's see. We have 529 viewers. How many of them are now Alexa's playing Baby Shark? Love it. Do you know when the session 6 is coming out? It says in the attic FPV. No. I have heard from people that it's before the end of the year. I don't know anything more specific than that, and I don't know if that's true. We know that the Hero 11 Mini is October 25th. Like, they're not going to release the session. They haven't even announced the session 6. So there's no way it's coming before October 25th. But so I would say sometime between October 25th and December 31st. But again, that's not concrete. That's not concrete. That's what I think. John Goblin wants to know if I know anything about the walnut. I do not. What is the Caddx walnut even? It's coming soon. We don't even know what it is, do we? We just know that it's a camera and it's coming soon. Okay. Nope, don't know anything about it. Let's see here. What would be the possible difference of a Session 6 and a GoPro Mini 11, asks Flying Grip. Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong screen. Sorry about that, folks. The Session 11 weighs about, I think it's about 125 grams, 130 grams in that ballpark. The Session 6 is reported to come in closer to 70 grams. So it's like half the weight. Something like that. Much smaller. Now, presumably it won't have the same specs. But presumably it's going to be pretty good for FPV anyway. Why did my stream just stutter? Is everything okay? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What's going on? Windows is downloading an update. Is that what's happening? Stop it, Windows. Windows, what's going on? Why is my stream stuttering? God dang it. Oh, Jesus Christ. I think Windows just started downloading an update. It's not Dropbox, I tell you that. What do I do? No, it's not that. Are we back? Is it all good now? No, it's freaking garbage. The 78% bad frames. God. The fuck. Cool. Oh, we're down to... Oh, wait, is it fixed? No. 18%. Well, that's better. it's not Windows Update, I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's bullshit. I'll tell you that. Oh, is it better now? Have you fixed yourself? Are you better? So good. Oh, it's fixed itself. The fuck? Cool. I'm sure that won't randomly happen again for no reason. Yeah. All right. Well, I got my router stats up if it happens again. Welcome back to the stream, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sure it's going to be fine. All I want is an internet that always works and never breaks, especially when I'm streaming. Oscillation Andy, thank you for a $5 super chat. I'm using ExpressLRS now and it works flawlessly. Not a single issue. Am I missing something? I'm glad it's working for you, Andy. I'm very, very pleased. Timbo Slice, thanks for a $10 super chat. Should I buy all the best analog kit, then maybe I'll fly like Mr. Steele? No. Joking aside, I really appreciate your time and all you do for the community. I have learned so much. Thank you so much, Timbo Slice, for the donation, and glad the content's helping you out. Will you be getting an early set of HD Zero goggles? Says Slaughter Bartfast in the Discord. I am going to guess, based on my history with HD Zero products in the past, they will not send me a tester set, but then once they have a retail set ready to go, they will send it to me. That is, to be honest with you, how I prefer most product releases. I am usually so busy making content that if you ask me to do something like test your product and I'm not allowed to make content out of it, usually I don't have time, because I'm going to spend, however many hours working on your product, and then I'm not going to have any video to post that day or whatever. There are exceptions. There are some products that are so interesting or so in demand that it's worth it to me to work on them when I don't have. But in general, when people send me pre-release products and say, do you want to test this, but you can't make content about it, I just end up not looking at it. And it's not a good beneficial relationship for either of us. So what HD Zero has done in the past is when they have a retail version of a product they want to release, they send it to me and I participate in the release, but they don't send me stuff that is not ready for release. And that's okay with me. They need people who are going to put a lot more time into the product than I could really afford to do the testing and get it ready to go. CIDFPV has just figured out what my shirt says. I don't know if you can read it. Too much yakking about irrelevant stuff, too little talking about the actual goggles. From Justin, what's his name? Justin Rail. Juan Rail. Can't really read it. Yeah. Abraham says, if HD Zero isn't interesting and in demand, I don't know what is. Well, Aber, I mean, everybody has different preferences about what's most interesting. I have been more interested in HD Zero at other times in my life. The product that HD Zero released that I was most interested in was the 1 watt VTX. Well, first, obviously, when it first released as Sharkbite, I was super interested in it because it's a new product. No one's seen it before. What's it bring to the table? And what it brought to the table was, yeah, I see you got some potential here. My number one takeaway from the early HD Zero stuff was I wish it had higher output power, because 200 milliwatts just doesn't give me as much range as I would want. So then they came out with a 1 watt freestyle VTX, and I was like, yeah, and I did. If you go look, you'll see I did a big full fat 5-star review. Not 5-star as in I rated it 5 stars, but like there are some products that I sit down and I just talk about it for 20 minutes on the bench and I'm like, cool, review done. And there's other products that I, pull out the stock photography and the music and the B-roll, and I really go all out to try to give the product as much attention as I feel like it deserves. And the HD0 1-watt Freestyle VTX was one of those. I left my house and I went to the parking garage and anyway. And right now, based on the performance of the system, my take is that I'd rather fly DJI. And as a professional reviewer, I obviously don't only look at products that I personally prefer the most. That wouldn't make for a very good reviewer. But my interest in the product is not as piqued as it was when the 1-watt VTX was coming out. That's what I mean. As far as demand goes, I don't know. I know that people who are passionate about HD0 are incredibly passionate about it, but I'm not convinced that numerically there's as much interest in HD0 as there is in some other things. I could be wrong about that. Like, for example, if we go to Ryan Quellet's YouTube page, no, not Ryan Wellet. No, not the musician Ryan Wellet. Ryan Quellet. No, shut the... I hate you, YouTube. There he is. There's a handsome devil. How much interest is there in HD0? I mean, Ryan Quellet is the guy who makes HD0 content. I will get more views than him because I have more subs, but people who want information about HD0 will go to him. And his videos are getting 4,000 to 7,000 views. How much interest is there? Now this video blew the F up. 130K views. That's a good one. I got the full fat out of that one. 5K views on the Livestream clip stream is very good. Mobula 6 HD0 with 36K views. That's respectable. Okay. I take it back. These videos are doing better than average for their type and position. I take it back. You're right. There's interest. There's demand. Slaughter Bartfast says, JB, you're not as cost and analog sensitive as a lot of us are. Slaughter Bartfast, I reject the argument that HD0 is a cheaper option. When you're comparing analog, DJI, HD0, and heck, Walk Snail, HD0 is just as expensive as DJI. Unless you already own a set of analog goggles with an HDMI input. If you're starting from scratch, the VTX and cameras are the same price. So HD0 isn't cheaper unless you happen to already own the goggles. It's the same price as DJI. And frankly, with the V2 DJI goggles now coming in, I think $469, $475, the V2 DJI goggles are cheaper than an HDO2 and cheaper than an Orca. Especially if you're also buying an HD0 module for $150. HDO goggles, HDO2, what are they running right now? HDO2 Fat Shark Dominator, $500 in stock. $650 for the Fat Shark Dominator 2 with HD0. $475, $460 for the DJI V2. DJI knew what it was doing when they made that price. They absolutely did that on purpose. in my opinion. Now, Orca, the FPV-1 race. Hello, hello, hello. I clicked a link. Now go to the link. What's the dag nabbit get FPV? $485. That's about the same price as the DJI goggles, except you also have to buy the DJI, the HD0 receiver. So now, granted, those are top tier goggles. You could get goggles a little cheaper. Like if you really stretch, you could get HD0 and a set of goggles for the same price as the DJI goggles. So HD0 not cheaper than DJI, not cheaper than Walksnail, same price, more expensive than analog. The only people so when you say I'm not as cost sensitive, I mean I get that. I'm a professional, and as a professional, I can justify spending money on things in a way that hobbyists can't. I try to keep that into account when I think about reviewing products, of course. I remember the days when buying a $12 motor, I was, oh no, I broke a motor. I gotta spend $12 on a new motor. Can I afford the expensive $20 motors? I remember. I know what that's like. But the main thing, so then what does HD0 have if not price? And you're right that it's the latency. It has digital image quality with analog style latency. And if that's the thing you can, and it has compatibility with race timing systems. But I think Slarter Bartfast was replying to me saying that I like DJI better. And I think what he was saying is that I don't mind the expense of DJI and I don't mind the latency, which is true. But Slaughter Bartfest says, I think the wish is that you would influence a thing like the HDO goggles, like the HD0 goggles. It's the closest to open source we got. 100% Slaughter Bartfast. And when I reviewed the HD0 1 watt freestyle VTX, I absolutely focused on I try to represent what you might think about the product, not just what I think about the product. So if I were to take a bite of pizza with pineapple on it and go, ew, I actually like pizza with pineapple, I'm sorry to say. But if hypothetically, if I were to take a bite of pizza with pineapple on it and go, oh, I hate this, but I was I was a product reviewer, I would say, the pineapple pizza, but pineapple adds a sweetness that offsets the saltiness of the pepperoni of the, I would try to ask myself, what do the people who like this like about it? And how can I communicate to you whether you're one of those people? And so the pros of HD0, when I review those products, I absolutely call them out. When the HD0 goggles come out, I look forward to reviewing them and focusing on the things they do well and the things that, if there's anything, that they could do better, focusing on that as well. As far as the open source thing goes, I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to take a performance hit just to get something that's open source. I love open source, and in cases where open source products also have great performance, like ExpressLRS or, dare I say, Betaflight, I'm all about it. But if you say, give me an open source video link or a closed source video link that has much better range, resolution, and penetration, I'm going to take the second one, clearly. And I know there are people out there who are motivated by an open standard. And as that starts to manifest, here's what I'll say about that. As that starts to manifest, then I may also feel compelled by that. But today we're in a world where only HDZero makes the VTXs, only HDZero makes the goggles. This idea that it will be open is entirely hypothetical. It's intention. They have an intention to do this. If I could buy a Foxeer and a Runcam and a Rush FPV and a TBS HDZero video transmitter, and everybody was competing and everybody was making products, and when one was out of stock, I could buy the other one, and there were 3 different people making HDZero goggles, then this argument that HDZero is open and so it's better for the community absolutely would carry a lot of weight. Right now, that argument is aspirational, which is better than DJI, who has no intention of being open in that way. But also, I'm not going to give them full marks for their intention. They have to actually deliver. And right now, that hasn't been delivered. We're starting to see that. FreeSky has a monitor coming out. I just saw this on Facebook today. It's an HDZero monitor. Yeah, yes! This is the first product where HDZero has supplied the chips and FreeSky has manufactured the product. The HDZero Tandem controller has the FreeSky Tandem controller has an HDZero VTX receiver in it. Fantastic. That's the kind of thing that as it expands and grows, this potential will be realized. But I don't think the potential has been realized yet. And so I don't think that they get full credit they get partial credit for the intention. Yes, absolutely. No, I think you're being more generous than I would be. Shaddai says HDZero is a community product that actually listens to the community and tries to give us what we want. 1000% yes. Things like the HDZero race receiver. 1000% yes. Carl is a saint and it is doing so much to give the community what they want. 1000% yes. I agree with that wholeheartedly. HDZero doesn't have DJI image quality and penetration, but DJI runs at 1.2 watts. No. DJI, feel free to run DJI at 1,000 milliwatts if you think that'll make a difference, but it won't. It's the difference between H.264 or H.265 encoding with retransmissions and real-time compression with no retransmissions and lower latency. You just can't. I mean, someday somebody will come up with some secret trick quantum encoding that does it. But in general, the reason that DJI has variable latency is that they're doing motion compression and stuff in a way that gives you better performance. Although, as we've seen with Walksnail, DJI's engineering know-how has a lot to do with their great performance because Walksnail has very similar hardware to DJI and still doesn't perform as well. So it's not that DJI runs at 1.2 watts and Walksnail only runs at, and HDZero only runs at 1 watt. That's nonsense. We as a community need to support it because that's how other companies get behind it. This is how ELRS got started. There's a difference, though. Let's do a comparison between ELRS and HDZero. And why has ELRS blown up and become wildly popular in a way that HDZero hasn't? By the way, HDZero has significantly grown in popularity, no doubt. But Express LRS, I think, has grown more and has gained wider acceptance. And the reason is that, despite the fact that Express LRS is a giant pain in the ass compared to something like Crossfire or Tracer or Ghost, Express LRS is significantly less expensive because the open source design lets because there's no proprietary hardware involved. HDZero has this ASIC or whatever, I think it's an ASIC. They have this proprietary chip that only HDZero makes. It's expensive to make, and you can't just buy it off the shelf. And so there is no cost benefit to the open source nature of HD0. It's still super expensive to make a VTX or a receiver. Whereas with ExpressLRS, you can make the VTXs and the receivers with off-the-shelf components. That can be sourced in various ways, and there's no licensing fee or uptick or anything like that. The devs make no profit on the hardware. So the hardware is super cheap. That's one of the reasons ExpressLRS is so compelling. But the other reason, and the reason I think is most relevant, is ExpressLRS performs as well or better than the things they're competing with. Why did people switch from Crossfire to ExpressLRS despite the fact that ExpressLRS is a giant pain in the ass to flash and set up relative to Crossfire, which is not as much of a pain in the ass? It's because they wanted 500 hertz. They wanted 1000 hertz. They wanted things they wanted a tiny receiver with a ceramic antenna that would go in their micro. They wanted a flight controller with ExpressLRS built in for their tiny whoop. ExpressLRS gave them something that they could not get. Users of products, customers, consumers, if you want to call them that, are generally only interested in getting a good product at a good price. Very few of them are sort of ideologues who say, open source is what is good for the community, therefore I will buy a worse product because it's open source. They are out there. I know you're out there. You people running LibreOffice and GIMP. Because, God dang it, I will support open source, and I will not use Microsoft Office, and I sure as hell won't use Adobe Photoshop. Oh, I could afford them, but I won't. Yeah, no, I know you're out there. But to gain widespread, rapid adoption, an open source project has to leverage its open source nature to make a better product. Ideally at a lower price. And that's what ExpressLRS did. And that's what HD0, with all due respect, has not done. They have made an extremely niche product whose main selling point is it's just as low a latency as analog with better video quality and about the same range, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. And it's way more expensive than analog. And you can see why that's not like oh my God, yes, slap my credit card down. Why didn't you say so? What, it's 4 times as expensive and has better range and better image quality? Maybe. Oh. And the latency's just as good, you say? For some people, that's very compelling, but it's not as widely compelling as it's got twice the range and twice the resolution for 4 times the price. So. All right. I don't get the ExpressLRS love. Seems like it does the same thing as every other TXRX. Yeah, I mean, it has Crossfire Ghost level of range. It has, modern generation level of range. So it beats the pants off of FreeSky at FreeSky prices is basically the takeaway. My point is this, and we'll finish talking about this. I think we talked about it long enough. Simply being open source is not enough. And unfortunately, simply listening to the community is not enough. Because most people are going to buy the product that performs the best for them at a price they can tolerate. You're not going to win over the market by showing that you care and delivering things people want, unless by delivering things people want, you make a better product for them. And what I mean by that is, Carl listened to the community and came up with this race receiver that receives both analog and HD0 and outputs HDMI and analog video for the DVR, and has a really, really good analog deinterlacer, so the analog signal is as clean as it's ever been. Fantastic. Who needs that product? Race organizers. Okay, all 27 of them are going to love that product. Carl gets credit and prestige and accolades for doing that. But that doesn't make people necessarily make people want to buy his product as much as if the product was definitively better. If HD0 definitively had 50% more range than analog, I think that would be a very different situation than if it has about the same range as analog, which is what I see. You need to make a better product. You can't just rely on the fact that you're open source and you're connected with a community. Being open source and being connected with the community has to then result in you making the best product. And unfortunately, if you don't get that last part right, there's a limitation to the degree of success you're going to get. Okay. Enough about that. Good talk. Good talk. I wonder what the chat said. I was so busy talking. I wasn't reading the chat. Let's see. We got more super chats coming in. The exciting thing about open source for me is that when an open source project makes a better product, I can then go look and I can see the development and I can talk to the devs in a way that I can't with closed source. But if an open source project makes an inferior product, like what's that digital Wi-Fi HD open source project? I'm just like, oh, I don't know. Cool, nice passion project. When it's actually usable, let me know. Okay, let's get super chats out of the way. Mikhail Tejera says, JB, I have your Radio Master radio. Will you make a video on how to update to ExpressLRS 3.0? Mikhail Tejera, flashing the radio to ExpressLRS 3.0 is the same as flashing the radio to any other ExpressLRS version. So, what you need to do, Mikhail, is look at the ExpressLRS Definitive Getting Started Guide. There, because it has instructions on how to flash ExpressLRS, and we'll show you how to flash the radio. Then, after you got that, after you know how to flash it, if you want to see how to set up ExpressLRS 3.0, here's how to do it. OpenHD, that's what it was. Here's specifics about ExpressLRS 3.0. I'm not going to make a video specifically showing how to update the Joshua Bardwell Radio Master to ExpressLRS 3.0 because you got to be able to generalize a little bit. Updating any ExpressLRS radio, the steps are basically the same, and updating to ExpressLRS 3.0 is the same as 2.0. So between those two videos, I hope you're able to figure it out. We got a couple more super chats coming in. Coelho FPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. What 6S battery are you using in your high-speed dragster drone? I have to use a Tattoo 1800 100C to get the speed goal. I'm seeing 180 amps at max power. Yeah, Coelho, I definitely did not break 160 miles an hour using mine are race day quads, I think. I wasn't using a special high-end battery. And in the earlier video where I was using, I didn't even get a GPS lock this time, but I was not using high-speed props. It was originally, the speed run was done with 2-blade APC props, and that was the fastest speed. When I tested it, I was using a pretty typical, like a race day quads, 1100 milliamp hour 6S. It wasn't anything special. I suspect that if you're not hitting your speed goals and you need a Tattoo 1800 6S, my guess is that your props are the problem, but I don't know for sure. The top speed is incredibly sensitive to getting the right props. What power do you run your ELRS transmitter at? Asks Dominicas Basis. Thank you for €5. What power do you run your... I'm wondering if a 500 milliwatt Beta FPV TX module will be enough for tiny whoops, or should I get the 1 watt version? Dominique S., if you're using a ceramic antenna, I think 250 milliwatts is fine as long as you're willing to run at 50 hertz. If you want to run at 250 hertz or 500 hertz or one of the high frame rates, and especially if you're using a ceramic antenna, you really need the 1 watt VTX. FPV for Life in the Discord wants to know, I've always used Crossfire when flying long range. Changed my quad to Express LRS and have the Radio Master Zorro. Will it be okay for 2 miles at 250 hertz at 250 milliwatts? FPV for Life, I can't tell you. I can't tell you for sure. My gut feeling is that you probably will not get the kind of range the kind of link quality you expect at 250 hertz and 250 milliwatts. You definitely want to be using an EP1 receiver with an external antenna and not the ceramic antenna. If you said 250 milliwatts at 50 hertz, yes, fine. You're going to definitely go 2 miles. And probably a lot further. It depends on, various, are there trees in the way, are there hills in the way, etc. At 250 hertz and 250 milliwatts, I have a feeling you would see some LQ dips before you got to 2 miles. But I don't do a ton of ultra long range stuff. I don't even usually go more than maybe 1 kilometer out. So I couldn't say for sure. If you ask FPV for Life in the Express LRS Discord, I bet they will have some people there who have more perspective. Does the Caddx Vista still pair with the DJI V2 goggles? Yes, absolutely. Why wouldn't it? It definitely does. When do I know when to stop using my 4S battery? What do I have to look for to not go too low? Asks Beats Bros. Beats Bros, stop flying when your battery hits 3.5 volts per cell under load. That's a good rule of thumb for larger quads. For tiny whoops, it's a little different. Mike Curran, thank you for a $5 super chat. What are your thoughts on the SpeedyBee F405 V3? Seems like it's a smoking deal for $70. I also think it's a smoking deal for $70. We have to assume that SpeedyBee has done an okay job on the ESC and that it won't just blow up on us. But my God, what a bargain! So yeah, that SpeedyBee stack is exciting. Okay, folks, we are just about to the end of the stream. It's almost 3 p.m. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming on his channel, starting just as soon as I go off the air. He's going to post the link here in the chat if he hasn't already. And if you want to keep the streaming goodness going, click on his link. Mind of Games. You have to be a patron to join my Discord server. Link in the video description to my Patreon. I also, before I go, and before you go, don't leave, please. It's always great when the streamer begs, isn't it? What about when he whines? Let me just remind you that if you missed any part of this live stream, of course you could go back and watch it. But also, there's the Joshua Bardwell live stream clips channel where you can see clips from my live stream. Would love to have you over there as a subscriber. Just crossed 5,000 subs. Lots of fun little stuff. Just the highlights. None of the sort of whining and boring stuff. So definitely love to have you as a subscriber over there if you're not already subbed. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great stream, Ciotti, and have a great afternoon, everybody. I am out of here, as Dennis Miller used to say.